Big Money Sonny. My guy, Big Money Sonny. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big Money Sonny says, what's cracking, Lou? What's with the monster dreads that Chase has? The defense is nasty and the league needs to be very afraid. Salutes to you, homie. Likewise, Big Money Sonny. There's different types of dreads. Different types of dreads. You get the skinnies, you get the thicks, you get the dirty, nasty dreads. I always talk about that one defensive end for the Atlanta Falcons and his dreads. They're so dirty and nasty looking. They're thick, unkept. But everybody's got their choice. His dreads look fine to me. They look neat and neatly kept and nice to me. They look groomed. But I could be wrong. I'm not staring at his hair a ton, Anyway, this defense is nasty, but it's on paper. Because as I mentioned last week, this don't carry over. You don't get to say, hey, we had the third-rated defense in the league last year, so here we come. Now you got to go out and prove that again. So what you did last year doesn't really carry over to next year. You got to go out and prove to everybody again that we legit. And I think we're going to I said this last week, and I'm going to reiterate this again tonight and probably many more times before the season gets underway. We're going to find out a lot about this defense and this team as a whole, but specifically this defense, because we're going to be challenged in a way that we weren't challenged last year. Yep, we saw Jackson, and we saw Murray, and we saw Stafford, and we saw Roethlisberger and Wilson last year. We saw some quarterbacks last year. It wasn't all ass last year, as some of us tried to make it out to be. And I'm guilty of that. Like, all the quarterbacks we saw were ass. But it's not what we got coming to us this year. It pales in comparison to what we got coming this year. All right, and I've done that. I'm not going to go through the list of quarterbacks. I've already done that. I did it tonight, as a matter of fact, already. But, just the fact that last year we were able to find a way to bypass Dak Prescott twice speaks volumes as to what we were able to do from a quarter, who we were playing against from a quarterback standpoint last year. It's going to be totally different this year. We're going to find out just how good this defense really is in 2021. So while the league needs to be put on notice, we gotta go out and actually hang those flyers up around the league. We can't just come out of the gate and say, hey, we wrecking shit over here. Pay attention to us. No, you got to start wrecking shit. And trust me, they will take notes. And they will notice when they look up and somebody got their ass beat 31-10 and it was 7 sacks and 3 turnovers forced. Remember what happened in week 1 last year? When we sacked Carson Wentz 8 times? Everybody was like, how many turnovers? How many sacks? Huh? That's when people was like, wait a minute. What those boys doing over there in D.C.? You got to do it again. Got to do it again. Appreciate the super chat. Big Money Sonny. Carlton Bogano Jackson, my guy CPJ, thank you for double up, for doubling up. Really do appreciate you, CPJ, my guy. Writes, do you think, he said, what do you think of Dyami Brown impressing everyone out there? Steal of our draft. I think he's going to be really good. But this is what we expected when we drafted him. Really good football player coming out of North Carolina. I was excited about the pick when we made it. I don't know if he'll be the steal of the draft or not. And steal would imply that we're getting away with something. We took him right around where we were supposed to take him. Could he be the crown jewel of our draft? Is different than steal. Steal would imply we got this guy in the 6th round. Cameron Curl was a steal last year. You get him in the 7th round, you're like, what was this guy doing here in the 7th round? That's a steal. When you get something and you pay retail for it, You don't feel like you got a steal or a bargain. You're like, I got a pretty good product. Like, I got what I was supposed to get. I felt like I paid this amount of money and I got a really good product. I feel really good about that. When you feel like you got a steal is when you're paying way below, 30, 40% below retail. And you're like, man, this is some A quality stuff. I always equate that to Jordans. If you're a shoe head, if you're a sneaker head out there, then if you're getting some B or C grades, but you're paying a third of the price, but the common lay shoe, fan out there, or just a, normal average Joe won't be able to tell the difference between a pair of A grades and C grades or B grades. Hell, most of the people that are shoe aficionados can't even tell the difference between a B or C until they flip the tongue and see that it's a pair of B or C grades. But you just paid a third of the price. That's when you got to steal. I don't deem Dyami Brown to be a steal more so than I look at him and say, I think we might have got what we paid for in the third round. And that's a good thing. When you get a first round pick, you want your first round pick to perform like a first round pick. You don't want to be surprised. It's good if they surprise you and you're like, well, we thought this guy was really good. He turns out he's iconic. Like J.J. Watt, for instance. The Texans didn't know he was going to turn out to be one of the best players in the NFL. They didn't know he was going to be, when he retires, a future Hall of Famer and one of the greatest interior pass rushers we've ever seen in NFL history. They didn't know that when they drafted him, 12th overall. They didn't know that. They're like, man, we thought he was good. He turned out to be effing excellent. That's what we hope we're getting out of Dyami Brown. Like, hey, we knew he was good. We knew he was about a third round pick. We feel really good about him. We didn't know we were going to get first round production out of him. Like Terry. That's what we're hoping. Terry's exceeded expectations. When we drafted him, the first inclination was, hey, man, guy's a really good special teamer. And we're getting a solid receiver. And he's going to be dominant on specials. By week 1 of his rookie season, he was like, oh, shit. We might have a number 1 wide receiver. Who is this guy? We're hoping that Dyami is similar in that regard. But I wouldn't consider him a steal. He might end up being the crown jewel of our draft. We're hoping that Jamin Davis is the best player out of that draft class. And that Samuel Cosme is right there with him. And that, the Priest and Dyami Brown are performing at a high level as well. But he could be the best player in this draft. But there were rave reviews about him in camp. He had some drops too. It wasn't all good. But he made a bunch of plays. And that's what I expect him to be able to do. So I'm excited with what he's done to this point. But again, just OTAs. Just OTAs. Keep that in mind. But thank you for the super chat, CPJ. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat, Red Wings 01. Really appreciate you. My guy R-Dub writes, hey Lou, what up? Red Wings. He says, are there any players you want to see in a bigger role this year compared to last? I'm hoping to see Khaleke Hudson, James Smith-Williams take their games to the next level and take the next step as defenders. So funny that you asked that. So another thing on my list, you guys are just doing a phenomenal job. This is why I love you guys, because you guys know your stuff, okay? So another thing that I wrote down that I wanted to talk about tonight, and this is a perfect segue to that, was I teased this on the day 3 camp video that I put out earlier today. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, please do that. But I said, I'm going to tell you who I think the most improved player is going to be on the team this year. Last year, Montez Sweat, without a doubt for me, was the most improved player. He was outstanding last season. This year, I think the most improved player is going to be Khaleke Hudson. I really do. He had an interception today. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it, but it was on socials. He went up in the air, one hand, brought it in. I think he's going to play a major role defensively for us this year. I really do. I like his athleticism. He got an opportunity late in the season against Seattle. I think the man had like 15 tackles in that game. He's fast. He's dynamic as an athlete. He's a core special teamer, so he's going to be around. But I think he's going, and he can run. I think he's going to have a bigger role this year. I really, truly believe that. Like, we couldn't get John Bostic off the field last year because there was no one to replace him. I don't know if John Bostic has to be on the field. They may move John Bostic to strong side linebacker this year. They may move him off the field altogether. If they're able to do that, it's because of a guy like Khaleke Hudson. I just think Khaleke is going to end up playing a major role this year. That's my candidate for most improved player. For me, it's Khaleke Hudson. I think he's got a big season coming. And when I say big, I'm saying it in relative terms to his role on the team. It's big for him, not for the grand scheme of things. But for him as to where he was last year, what he was asked of last year, and what he's going to be asked of this year and what he's going to be able to provide, I think he's going to have a difference-making season this year. So that's the guy. You brought him up in your comment. You're spot on. Hudson is the guy for me. So we're on the same page. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you for that perfect segue to who I think is going to be the most improved player for the Washington football team in the upcoming season.
LouieTeeNetwork.